Hi there, I am Adem Kirbas, and you are listening to my podcast, Literature Analysis. Today we will start analyzing a very famous play by William Shakespeare, Macbeth. Truth be told, it is indeed true that Shakespeare is the greatest playwright who has ever lived. This is, of course, beyond doubt. And it is indeed interesting to talk about his life as well. Whether he really existed or not, whatever it is. This is something we will not talk about here in our podcast. I assume this has been talked about enough, and I have only watched recently a YouTube documentary about Shakespeare, where it actually is not really clear, or this has not really solved. So we will not come to a conclusion. However, so I some sort of pretty much omitted talking about Shakespeare in his private life. Of course, you will have to. It would be interesting to talk about the time Shakespeare lived, of course, but again, this is something we will leave out as well, because I think that an author, this is what, if you're an author yourself, this is what you perceive as well, that if you write something, there are a lot of conscious processes going on, especially here, if you some sort of write attentively, but there are as well as a lot of subconscious processes going on. You do not have to believe in psychoanalysis, but this is what pretty much happened. So writing is something, I don't know how to explain it more accurately, but it is some sort of letting your thoughts go, letting your or let your brain create mental images, if you know how to write. Or one key advice for writing is, if you want to write a novel, if you want to write with science fiction, fantasy, whatever, start not with the protagonists, but start with the world. So create in your mind the world, create in your mind the scene, and then things get easier, because you have some sort of already setting, and every character then in your mind some sort of moves in this setting, and so on and so forth. But a lot of these things work independently of your conscious, well, not independently, but in a subconscious way. And this is the reason why I assume that you can some sort of separate the author from his work. I know this sounds a bit tricky, especially you will probably chide me for it, but it is something you can do indeed. So I'm just stating that the artwork of an author may be sometimes beyond his own grasp, because sometimes you are nothing but the brainchild of your generation. However, I do not say that Shakespeare was that. If you only read Shakespeare, especially Macbeth, I read Macbeth, and I immediately started loving Shakespeare. Please note that I did not grow up in an English-speaking country. Assumably, maybe this may be some sort of a prejudice. This, assumably, in the English sphere, everyone knows Shakespeare. Assumably, again, this is prejudice. I don't know. People in England or in Great Britain, in North America, do nothing else but acting, playing on a stage, and so on and so forth, like Spanish or like Latinos know how to dance English, or the English speakers know how to act. Again, this is prejudice, and I'm sorry about this. However it is, but assumably everyone in the English, in Great Britain, in North America, in Australia, whatever you have, with every native English speaker, will know Shakespeare a lot. You grew up with it. This is your cultural heritage. As I grew up in Austria, there your cultural heritage is exactly Goethe, Schiller, and E.T.A. Hoffmann. What have you? So we read in Austria German literature, praise it as a cultural accomplishment, and assumably people will do this around the world as well. So, however, assumably everyone will know a lot about Shakespeare. I read Shakespeare very late, so Macbeth, and I do admit I only like Macbeth. The other plays, well, I cannot really go along with them, whatever. But Macbeth, and if you read Macbeth, there you see really the genius of William Shakespeare. This is beyond doubt. So no matter whether you believe this was a group or one person, this was ingenious. I mean, if you read the understanding, I mean, if you read Shakespeare and if you really imagine it, then you understand that this man had had a deep understanding, not only how a play works, but as well as how you should present a play, how it is being perceived or could be perceived by the audience. This is again, you have to read or understand Shakespeare's play, that these things are played in a theater, and you some sort of have to adjust your play to it. I mean, we all grew up with the TV, and some of these things, for example, that a woman or that the man would some sort of hold a speech about his pain, hold a speech about love, and oh my goodness, she can't find true love, or she's in love, or she has lost the love, all these tragedies. From our point of view, who grew up with TV, this is some sort of unbearable, oh my goodness. What should we make of this? I mean, this all like all those Bollywood movies. You have to say, well, why do they have to dance, or why does she have to sing about her being in trouble? Whatever it is, but it is some sort of understandable, or you understand these from the perspective of stage. I mean, if you're on the stage, you cannot some sort of have complex, I would say, complex dialogues, at least not without the support or with visual support. I mean, if you have on a TV, you have actually a great instrument on the display, and this is that you can show without telling it. I mean, you can. There are some great movies where people read or say less, but the visual impression does it. So the visual impression cuts you. This is easier. This is really easier. So on a screen to some sort of convey information. This is not so easy if you are on stage theater. We have to be aware that Shakespeare lived around 1600. This was a different time. This is something we all have to take into consideration. But the ingeniousness of Shakespeare is what you really see if you read Macbeth. And I think Macbeth, my personal opinion is Macbeth is the best he has ever written. There you see that he really understands the audience. And this is what, if you want to be a good author, always some stuff, desire, knowledge. If you want to accomplish something, of course, if you want to write a bestseller, if you want to accomplish anything as author, then of course you should ask yourself what people would want to read. I mean, of course, I said we have to be aware of one thing, so you do not just write because you feel yourself as a gifted artist. Well, I don't think that this will get you far. Rather, you should consider yourself as a student, and as a student, you're always in constant progress, you're always in constant learning, and there you some sort of analyze other plays. What we are doing right here with Macbeth, we want to improve firstly our writing. I'm an author. Hopefully you are, or at least interested in writing. And the second thing is what we will find a lot in Macbeth is some sort of our philosophical understandings. Whatever, but however, I will not go into analyzing Macbeth through I would say a rigid, some sort of philosophical construct, which is mostly how you should analyze novels. This is what we will leave aside. I think this leads to nowhere if you some sort of have already made up your mind that you should some sort of analyze literature in a certain way. There are a lot of school of thoughts. We will not go into detail with that, but rather really try to look into the play, the structure, and then try to gain something out of it, improve our selves, because we are students. We are not, or we think that if you're an artist, you are not born as an artist, right? Quite contrary. This is like physical exercise. You need exercise. You need to improve yourself in order to become good. And one way to become good is not only just read stuff, but really analyze it, try to grasp it. And especially if you're an author, you have to analyze things a bit differently. Of course, there are, I would say, 3 types of readers. The first types of readers, these are people who some sort of seek entertainment, leisure, and so on. This is how we watch movies. This is how we watch plays. We want to have a good time, maybe some sort of, either we want to have some comedy, some fun, or some grabbing tension, a thriller or horror, whatever it is. So we are rather seeking emotional satisfaction and just, I would say, pass the time. The second type of reader, these are, I would say, those who some sort of analyze a play, a book, a movie in an analytic way. They are not writers themselves, but rather some sort of intellectuals, academics who, especially if you go to the university or if you attend university, you some sort of have to read a book in a certain way, in an analytic way, in order to make sense of it, and so on and so forth. And the third way is, this is how you should read as an author a play, and this is where you have to watch and structure how it is built. What is a good opening? What is a bad opening? What is some sort of a stylistic finesses? What is bad? What is good? And so on and so forth. So we will go the third way and look at Macbeth from an author perspective to improve our writing. So I will some sort of give us a short overview about Macbeth, assuming again that some of you may not know it. If you want to watch it, I have watched a great movie about Macbeth. This was with Michael Fassbinder. This was, I think, very good. Or there are a lot of theater scenes. I think it is smarter you some sort of watch Macbeth or listen to from the theater, so that you really see and understand why some dialogues are the way they are, because it is really meant for the theater. This was, and you can some sort of grasp the genius of William Shakespeare, because this is beyond doubt. However, Macbeth, the Thane of Glamis, who is a general, or the entire setting of the play is Scotland. Scotland. I would say Scotland. I was not quite sure which century, but this should not bother us. Scotland, and there is some sort of trouble, or the play starts with war. There has been some war fought against a rebel, but as well as against a foreign invading power, Sveo, the king of Norway, who tried to some sort of invade Scotland, and those invaders and those rebels were fought back by a brilliant general, Macbeth, who some sort of gained the favor of his king, and who was prophesied that he would become king himself, and there some sort of starts this tragedy, and Macbeth, in the continuation of this prophecy, as well as in greed, he wants to become king as well, or desires to become king the moment this is being relieved, or some sort of revealed to him. Macbeth is a decent man, at least it is assumed, and even his wife thinks of him as weak because of he's decent, he's not cunning, he's not deceptive. However, he gets corrupted by power, and then he kills his king, and some sort of assumes the throne, yet he does not get satisfaction. He sees ghosts, he sees treason everywhere. He becomes a tyrant, a madman who some sort of slaughters everyone, and in the end, his reign of terror is brought to an end. This is some sort of, in a very short term, what the play is all about, and it is some sort of anti-structure with the play. We will talk about it later in detail. There are a lot of themes in the play. I mean, I would say you can some sort of interpret the play in many forms. We will as well as look into a psychoanalytic interpretation of one scene. I know there are some issues, whatever, but this scene within the psychoanalysis or within psychoanalysis is indeed very famous, very known. So we will have to say some words to it as well. We will try to portray this theme, or the themes, from many angles. So we should not leave anything out. So even though some psychoanalytic terms. However, the play starts with, this is again something with the theatre, and this is something you see at many Shakespeare plays. This is something, or the way the play starts, this is some sort of forced on you because it is a theatre. This is, or the beginning of the play, at the opening, at the play, this is some sort of a opening, if you do not mind this stupid phrase, but this just means that in the beginning some sort of the cast is being introduced to the audience, so that everyone knows who is who. These are not those great introductions or openings we would know from the movies. For example, a great introduction is Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad some sort of starts in the middle and with some sort of leaves there, or is a great cliffhanger, and then some sort of grabs the audience, and you then more and more understand and figure out what this is all about. There are a lot of creative beginnings where is some sort of concealed who is who, what is who, which then when the plot progresses is a great plot twist, why you did not know this one coming, and so on and so forth. So these great beginnings, these are of course missing in that sense, because you are confined to the theater. You have to introduce your audience to the people. So in the beginning, some sort of open beginning, we have a narration what is going on. This is war against Norway and war against the rebel, the Thane of Cawdor, who some sort of was with or some sort of sided with Norway in order to fight its own people. So it is an open beginning. We see the King Duncan, and we perceive the beginning from the perspective of King Duncan, who is being reported or who is some sort of briefed about the battle, who is briefed about the battle, because there is still war going on, and King Duncan some sort of is being told what is going on the battle, and those or his messengers talk about Macbeth and Banquo, that they were all brave, valiant, or fought valiantly, bravely, in order to preserve his throne. And here already we some sort of can or should be very aware, and this is some sort of the first theme. You have some sort of you could some sort of say it is not really a theme, but where you have some sort of this view as a king who is some sort of unsullied. He is some sort of, or his hands are not blood-sucked, because King Duncan, if you see it from a Machiavellian view, is actually a weak king in that sense. He does not fight with his man. The Norwegian King Svino does fight with his man. This is what we some sort of know in the first act. The Norwegian king, and he is with his man. He fights with his man. He takes active action in the battle, whereas King Duncan does not. So he's been briefed. His hands are not soaked in blood. This is a very key understanding, and as well as there are references to him that he's in one hand the father, the all nice father, but in the or at the other hand he's a child. This is some sort of echoes to King Lear. In King Lear, the king himself is in one hand a father, but as well as some sort of a perennial child. And in Macbeth you have these references as well. So King Duncan, he's not with his man. He does not fight with his man. He's some sort of weak as well as feminine. This is another theme of the play, and I think what is pretty much remarkable for this age is how women are portrayed. But this is as well as the play is a lot of about masculinity, what it means to be a man, but as well as what it means to be a good king. And for that matter, Macbeth, who fights with his man, who orders his man, he is some sort of stronger as Macbeth, as King Duncan. So Macbeth is general, he's with his man, and King Duncan is not. He's the father who some sort of only observes with his people. And those who know a little bit of history, especially Roman history, then you know that those generals who were with their man, who fought with their man, later always assumed the throne or let themselves be hailed as emperors. So the Roman history is full of it. So this is where we some sort of understand, but you have to be very careful so that you do not miss this part. So in the beginning there is the introduction of characters, and this is very important for us, and as well as that we get to know in what world this play is some sort of or what's the setting of this play. It's not only Scotland, but it is as well as that there is some sort of a treason going on. So that the former Thane of Cawdor, or the he's still Thane of Cawdor, so the general of Cawdor has betrayed the king, and that this is some sort of a constant climate of treason. And we will later hear, especially when we some sort of listen to the confession of Malcolm in the fourth scene, or in the fourth act, that this is some sort of a constant circle. So this is some sort of, in a way, inevitable. So there is a constant circle of treason. And we come to understand, in a way, why this is. Because one thing, and this is another theme, which again echoes to King Lear, and this is sight. What you see or do not see. And King Duncan, he does not see what Macbeth does. He only is being briefed on what Macbeth does by his men, by his people, and he has to take his word for them. Later on, we have a lot of examples as well where King Duncan does not see what Macbeth sees, so he's oblivious. He's blind to what Macbeth thinks in his mind, or what Lady Macbeth thinks. So his perception is weak. So in a Machiavellian feud, you would say he is a weak king. He has no overview of his kingdom. He does not know anything about his people. Even the Thane of Cawdor, the one who some sort of joins forces with the King of Norway and who betrayed him, to whom King Duncan had an absolute trust. He was some sort of shocked, in a way. He's surprised. How could this happen? How could this man, this honest, decent man, some sort of betray the king, betray his fellow countrymen? And this is one reason is here, because Duncan is weak, and this some sort of builds upon it continuously, and we some sort of understand why this is. However, but let's stay a little bit in the beginning. I mean, if you write a novel, or if you write a play, beginning is the key. This is pretty much important, especially if you write books. If you write books, then some people, they, let's say, without Amazon, some people, or this has probably and will be changed now due to the pandemic. But normally, before the pandemic, people would always go to a bookshop, and there some sort of read some books they want to buy. And there mostly people would read the beginning, some part in the middle, and some of them who do not care about spoilers, the end. So this would mean that if you write a novel, if you write a book, then you have to grasp people's attention. The same is if you make a movie, if you write a screenplay, especially now with this streaming wars, with Netflix, HBO, and what have you, where there are a lot of streaming service suppliers, you some sort of grab the attention of the audience, and the beginning is key. I mean, this is understandable, and the more tension you can build in the, or not only tension but as well as suspense, the more tension you can make in the beginning, the more you will gain of it. I mean, for example, all those crime series like CSI or what have you, they are always start with a murder. Yeah, this creates already a lot of suspense. However, in theater, your hands are some sort of tied, because you have to make sure that the audience some sort of has to understand you. So who is who? I mean, you don't want people some sort of be going through some troubles where they do not understand who is who, or in which relation stand every person to each other. You do not want to confuse your audience, because this is very important. The beginning is some sort of the first instance where you want your audience to follow the story, to some sort of embrace them, do not leave anyone behind. No, but really to grasp the scenes, and as well as you want to some sort of set the mood of the play. Some sort of, this is something a dark one, and this is what you really perceive in Macbeth with those three witches. I mean, this is how it starts. I mean, this is some sort of set the mood of the play, so that you understand what this is all about. And with the three witches, this is a great thing. This is especially in the first act. It is in the first act and in the third scene where you have a witch who talks about having asked a fat woman whether she can some sort of give her a chestnut, and this fat woman refused. And because of that, the witch haunts her husband, who set sail for Aleppo in a ship that is called the Tiger, and she will some sort of be or transform into a big fat rat and some sort of eat all his food and so on, and some sort of will make his life to hell. This is some sort of in the first act. This is after this introduction of King Duncan. This is again one great theme, what we some sort of preserve or some sort of get told to. This is a theme. You could some sort of say every action has a reaction, or every bad action has a consequence. Or we would in the West we would always some sort of wrongly assume, this is karma. If you are stingy, if you do not give away something, you pay the price for it. But I think the great thing is, of course, is some sort of punishment, so you do not get scot-free with anything. This is what we some sort of perceive with it. The first thing there. Then the second thing is that this fat woman who actually committed this crime in a way does not get to pay for it, but her husband some sort of has to bear the consequences. So this is another thing we have to perceive. And as well as that, the ship, which is called the Tiger, so you could some sort of assume that Tiger means king of jungle, or some sort of a king, so that not even kings are above the law, are not even protected, and so on and so forth. So stinginess some sort of has consequences, and you some sort of cling with your spouse on these consequences. You could then later on, we will some sort of understand or may assume, and this will transform as well, some sort of another key component of the play is sacrifice. This is very important, especially later when we meet Lady Macbeth. So what you want to sacrifice for your ambition, and child or having children is one of the biggest themes there. So you sacrifice your future in that sense, or having children for your own ambition. But this conversation with this, which is pretty much some sort of sums up what the play is all about. So something has or someone has committed something which was not virtuous, or this fat woman, which we then can assume she was some sort of had enough already. She had everything she had, so she was voluptuous, and yet she still was not willing to sacrifice anything, so she was stingy and so on. And then her husband, who is on a ship which is called the Tiger, which is probably the king, or an assumption of king, then he is punished for that as well. So, or in a very simple term, what goes around comes around. So karma is something different. Karma in the Asian understanding, in the Asian philosophy, is rather your mental setting. It is not that you are being punished for every wrong you do, but rather that you, if you have a wrong perception, if you have a wrong mental setting, then you will not be happy, and so on and so forth. So it has nothing to do with punishment per se. It is rather that karma is rather that if you do not have the right mindset, you betray yourself of the fruits of your life, if you want. So this is, we should some sort of differentiate our understanding of karma from what is really Asian understanding from karma, or the true understanding of karma, whatever it is. But some sort of the scene is some sort of set there. And of course, these are dark witches. So this pretty much we would assume, this is cold. There's some sort of a cold atmosphere. So the audience is some sort of brought into this mood. So this is a tragedy. After all, this is war. This is blood. There's treason. The former fame of Cawdor has betrayed his king. There's blood. There's war, invasion, fear, what have you. I mean, this is a lot. And their king Duncan, who is some sort of this child, if you want, this child who is very dependent on everything around him. This is what you then later see in King Lear, and he is a weak king in a Machiavellian term, and he makes a lot of mistakes. One mistake is what we have already seen. This is that he's not with his man. Everyone who knows Roman history knows this is very dangerous. And the second thing is what then becomes apparent when Macbeth and Banquo some sort of won over the rebels and the Norwegian king, that he some sort of admits, this is very dangerous, admits to his generals that without them he would be nothing, and that they are the only ones who actually really bear the entire kingdom. And he even admits here, I could not pay you for all you have done. I mean, this is very dangerous, and in an Machiavellian term, you should never ever admit that you are solely dependent of your generals. Depend on your generals, because then you are in hell's kitchen for sure. But we have some sort of this notion, and this later when Macbeth some sort of ruminates about whether to kill Duncan or not, we some sort of pretty much perceive that Duncan is some sort of this eternal child, and he's very naive. He believes in the good in the people. He believes in everything that his children, this is what you pretty much perceive, love him, and that they would do everything for him. This is what you have in King Lear as well. I mean, when he unwisely breaks apart his kingdom so that his children some sort of can have something, but however he pays them dearly, because he assumes that his children love him unconditionally, unconditionally. And this is something you have here in Macbeth as well. He's his father, and he some sort of cannot pay anyone with a lot of gold or with a lot of wealth, but he some sort of demands affection from his children without anything in return. It is then later said, this is when Macbeth some sort of meets the king after he has fought this battle successfully, that he then talks about his duties he has to his king, to his liege, to his father, and there's a very interesting conversation between the king and Banquo. Banquo is some sort of the second general who fought with Macbeth fought alongside Macbeth. And the discussion is about that the king some sort of is the one who some sort of sees his generals as his children. He some sort of grows them like a flower, and there Banquo says actually something very interesting, and this is, there if I grow, the harvest is your own. And this is some sort of very telling what the king some sort of says, or why people would want to dispose of the king, because Macbeth as well as Banquo or all his generals fight the war for him. They put their lives in line, whereas he is some sort of far away. He is naive. He doesn't know what's going on, but he some sort of gets all the appreciation, or gets the most of it, gets the gain of it without giving anything in return. And you have some sort of there at the beginning, or the some sort of cleavage, or the tension between material desire and love, fatherly love. Do you want some gain? Do you want to make material gain? This is very important when some sort of in the fourth act, when Malcolm in a way admits that he has some deep desires, even though it is some sort of meant as a test for Macduff, but yet it is some sort of confusing. However, but there you again see some sort of this tension between material gain and fatherly love. For example, King Duncan makes Macbeth to the new Thane of Cawdor, but he gives Banquo, who fought with Macbeth as well, just a hug. This is all he is, and he weeps, and so on and so forth. So you see again his weakness. He doesn't understand anything about politics. He doesn't understand that he makes Macbeth stronger, because now Macbeth is not only the Thane of Glamis, but as well as of Cawdor. So he gains a lot of power, whereas Banquo, who seemingly seems the more virtuous man, some sort of gains nothing. We will talk about this further the next week. So I hope you can join us. This was Adem Kebas from Ordu in Turkey. We are still in the pandemic and heading towards New Year. I hope that you all take care of yourselves, and I wish you a happy New Year. Bye.